Welcome back. Stan Arthur here. This is volume 4 of my series in Getting Started Editing with Premiere Pro for Noobs. Today, we're going to talk about creating a certain look for your video that doesn't just look like standard video, maybe more of a filmic look, cinematic, if you will, that sort of thing. Something you've probably heard before is the term color grading. And there's a lot of science behind it, science and art and theory and all that. That's not for me. I just want to be able to click on something and try some different looks, find something I like, make some adjustments, and get it out there. That's what we're going to do today. There are some interesting color grading tools built right into Adobe Premiere Pro in the Lumetri color panel. So we're going to visit that right now. You'll recognize this as the project we've been working on in the previous 3 tutorials. I'm going to do something a little different this time. I'm going to go to the color workspace. So we'll go up here to the workspace selector and choose the color workspace. Now I have customized this to give me a much bigger picture here. We don't need a lot of timeline down here. We will need the scopes. You can see they're smaller now because we made the picture bigger. And you can see how this interface works. It's very, I call it GUI. What is GUI? GUI. That's graphical user interface. I think doesn't matter. But I'm just going to get started showing you what sort of tools they have in the Lumetri color panel for color grading. The first thing you want to try is going to the Creative tab here. Now you can see this is just grayed out. There's nothing here, but let's select one of these clips and you'll notice that it pops right up here. And just for now, I'm going to make this bigger so I can see the affected picture here. You can see under here, under look, it says none. If we start clicking these arrows on either side, we can start going through the different looks that come built into Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, these are based on different tonalities, different balances. There's what they call complementary. There's split complementary. There are, teal and orange, magenta and green. I mean, there's all kinds of looks. And once you scroll through these, you can see the names of them are way down here. This is bleach, LDR. You just start clicking through them. You find something you like. And you may notice that the intensity down here is set on 100. And that is the full 100% of the LUT, except it's not. You can go all the way up to 200, which is weird. If you double click on this, it'll go back to 100. And this intensity effect has no effect on these previews. So the best way to do it is if you find something you kind of like here. Let's see, you see that there's a lot of film emulations here. You can actually do a pull down here and see all of them here. There's a Kodak 5205 I like quite a bit. And if I like that, it's already going to be applied. If I selected it here, it's already going to be applied here. And if I want to decrease the intensity, you can see it's working over here, but not here. This is just the 100 setting, and this goes all the way up to 200. So that's without any color grade. And as I add it slowly, I can tell you right now, I'm going to like it right around 50. And I like that, and I would most likely just use that for this video. But there's a better way to apply it to the entire sequence, the whole timeline. I'm going to hit the backslash key to see the whole thing. And again, this is applied here. And if you look in the effects controls, you can see that an instance of Lumetri color has been applied, and that's simply where the color grade is coming from. If I turn that off, you can see that the effect goes away. The easiest way for me anyway to apply this to the entire sequence is to copy it, turn it off because I don't want 2 instances on it on this clip. And I'm going to go back to the project panel And down in this lower right corner, there's a little new item icon here. I'm going to click on that, and you'll see you have these options here of creating these new elements. I'm going to create an adjustment layer, and it's already set to the size of the project and all that, so you're good there. Now that's going to put the adjustment layer here, but I want it here. So I'm just going to click on it, drag it, and drop it, and put it back to the beginning of this, and then stretch it out over the entire timeline. And now I can highlight it, and I can click Control V, and it will add that color grade to the adjustment layer. Pretty simple, huh? Premiere Pro has some other tools for color grading that you might want to explore. I think you'll have a good time doing it. It's kind of advanced, but I think you can handle it. You might be ready for this. What I'm going to do in Premiere Pro this time is take this adjustment layer where we applied the LUT or the color grade, and I'm just going to turn the eyeball off there. Then I'm going to click on it, hold the Alt key, and drag up one to create a second adjustment layer. And this is going to allow us to compare looks once we've created a separate one. Now, over here in the Lumetri color panel, I've clicked on the color wheels and match. And now we've got 3 color wheels for shadows, midtones, and highlights. And when you hover over one, you can see a crosshair there that'll allow you to pull the colors into these different color ranges here. So let's experiment with that. Teal and orange, a huge, very popular color grade. And we can simulate that here using these color wheels. And I would mention to you the Transformer movies. Michael Bay, big fan of the teal and orange look. Adam Wingard with Godzilla versus Kong, huge teal and orange look. So let's see what we can do about emulating that with these color wheels. In the shadows, I'm going to start here. I'm going to drag this towards teal, which is downward like that. I'm also going to move the shadows down a little bit, get a little bit darker shadows there. That's enough. Now in the midtones, I'm going to push this up towards the orange. And I'm also going to do that in the highlights. Not too much. You can see that there's a red Michael Jordan jersey up here. You got to kind of keep your eye on that because it's really getting blown out there. So that should do it about there. We can play with these sliders a little bit to see if we like what we get. I like pulling the midtones down just a touch and maybe pushing the highlights up a bit just to kind of make my face a little bit brighter there. And that's it. That's your classic teal and orange look. Pretty much. So what else do we have here? Well, let's, just so we can contrast and compare, let's turn this adjustment layer off and hit the Alt key and drag it up and create yet another one. Now, I would never do this on a normal production. This is just to compare here in the tutorial. Now, with that highlighted, we can hit the reset button again. And you can see this is what we started with here. And we're going to turn this one off. This is what we started with here. Okay, now let's try doing a magenta and green look. Now, I mentioned Godzilla versus Kong, but if you go to the sequel to that, Godzilla X Kong, they went from teal and orange to magenta and green. So let's see how we can emulate that. We're going to pull the shadows towards the green and pull the shadows down a bit. And then we're going to pull the midtones towards magenta and the highlights towards magenta. And see, maybe pull the midtones down a little bit and push the highlights up a little bit. And that's a different kind of look. This was the teal and orange we came up with. And this is the magenta and green we came up with. I'm kind of a fan of the teal and orange, so I'm going to go there and maybe keep messing with this a little bit. I'm going to add a vignette to it. How do you do that? Well, you go right down here and just pull this to the left a little bit, and you've added a little bit of vignette. What's that? Well, you can see the corners are getting darker, right? Yeah, very, very cool. All right, so we're going to leave that like that, and this is what I'm going to choose to use. I'm going to go back to the color wheels and match and probably push up the midtones a little bit. There we go. Maybe the shadows down just another tad. Let's look at our scopes and see what's happening there. Yeah, I think we are within range here. If I push the shadows up here, it's not really going to take them too much off the line. You'll see the red isn't really moving there. But if I go back to the basic controls, I can use the black control to pull them up off the line there, because I like more of a milky black anyway. There we go. That should do it. That should do it. And I'm all done color grading for now. Color grading can be a lot of fun. It can also be very frustrating. I hope that you have fun playing with it and see what kind of different effects and looks and feels that you get for your video. If you're really wanting to get into it, I would suggest going to a website called colorgradingcentral.com, run by a really nice young man named Denver Riddle. He has his own application for color grading called Cinema Grade that I have been using since he finally made it available for Windows back in 2022. It's really great. And it really offers some very unique methods for not only color grading, but also your initial color correction. It's really cool, and I suggest you check it out. Anyway, thanks for joining me here today. And please don't forget to like with the big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps small channels like mine get established on YouTube. In Volume 5, we're going to talk about using other footage in your production, what they call B-roll, and how to apply that into your sequence on the timeline. We'll see you then.